Well, breaking right now at noon, we're getting reports of an active shooter on the campus of Florida State University. This is a live look in Tallahassee, Florida, where you can see that there is a heavy police presence. Details are still coming in, but we're learning that at least 4 people were sent to the hospital. The university issued an alert to students saying an active shooter was reported in the area of the Students' Union. Students were asked to seek shelter immediately and wait for further instructions. Also new at noon, 2 Rogers police officers are injured after a gun accidentally went off. On Tuesday, an officer fired their gun accidentally while preparing it for cleaning. The gunshot went through that officer's leg and into another officer's foot, causing non-critical injuries to both officers. The Rogers Police Department has reportedly launched an internal investigation into the incident. Well, today, President Trump is responding to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's comments that tariff uncertainty could pose a risk to the U.S. economy. The White House continues to defend its tariff policy, even as it faces a new lawsuit from California. CBS's Natalie Brandt has more.
President Trump is meeting with Italy's prime minister today to discuss tariffs. The president has been touting negotiations with trading partners and attacking Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell for highlighting the risk and uncertainty around the policy.
The level of tariff increases announced so far is significantly larger than anticipated, and the same is likely to be true of the economic effects.
Powell says that could include higher inflation, slower growth, and higher unemployment. Though he didn't use the term, those factors raise concern about stagflation.
It's a difficult place for central banks, to be in.
President Trump on Truth Social slammed Powell's report as wrong, saying the Fed chair's termination can't come fast enough. Powell's term as chair expires in 2026.
The Trump administration is also facing a new lawsuit over tariffs from California. The suit contends the president lacks the authority to unilaterally impose tariffs.
No state is poised to lose more than the state of California.
Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom argues his state, the world's 5th largest economy with industries from tech to agriculture, stands to lose billions. The White House continues to defend its tariff policy, calling it a, quote, historic effort to address the national emergency of a persistent trade deficit. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
Well, tonight, Fort Smith is hosting a public meeting on a sales and use tax ballot. Voters can cast their ballots on May 13th to decide whether to reauthorize a 2022 tax, which would help fund the police department and consent decree work. Voters will also decide whether to reallocate part of a 1% tax to pay for consent decree work and bonds. Tonight's meeting will start at 6 in the Public Library Community Room. Well, Arkansas's 95th legislative session wrapped up at the state capitol. It completes several months of committee meetings, public comment, and votes to pass new laws and bills. Governor Sanders closed out the session with a bill signing ceremony and news conference. She spoke on what her administration accomplished this legislative session.
But I think there's another Latin phrase to describe this legislative session. Arkansas state motto, Regnat Populus, the people rule. For too long, our government has been enslaved to powerful special interests. Not anymore. We do not work for them. We work for the people of Arkansas. In this session, we delivered.
The governor signed a bill into law banning pharmacy benefit managers from owning a pharmacy in the state, making Arkansas the first state to do so. The pharmacy benefit managers run prescription drug coverage for big clients, such as health insurers and employers that provide coverage. CVS is one of the nation's largest pharmacy chains and had urged the governor to veto the legislation. CVS released a statement saying that they welcome good faith discussion with policymakers, but believe the new Arkansas law is a bad policy that will take away access to pharmacy care and hike prescription drug costs. Arkansas's governor has signed legislation placing more regulations on social media in the state as well. A sponsor of the bill says when it takes effect, parents will be able to sue for damages, medical bills, and attorney fees if a social media platform contributes to the serious harm of a minor.
It allows you to hold accountable these big tech platforms. And that's really where we're trying to give the parents the best framework to bring a case and to protect their children. And just the stories we hear across the country about how children have been preyed upon. We want to make sure our Arkansans are protected in every way.
Well, the bill does not apply to advertisements created and hosted by third parties or anything protected under First Amendment free speech rights. Well, the governor did veto 2 bills. One would have amended the state's medical marijuana laws to allow dispensaries to deliver orders and operate drive-through windows. The governor said that she vetoed it because it would have made it easier to access marijuana. The other bill centered on an appropriations bill for the University of Arkansas Little Rock over concerns that she had about funding for the Institute on Race and Ethnicity. Well, the Gravette Fire Department wants to change the way that it collects voluntary fire dues. However, the department says that those fees will not be going up. Right now, they collect fire dues for out-of-city limit residents through mail. If voters approve this measure, they can pay through their property taxes. The department currently serves over 3,000 residents out of city limits and have less than 50% precipitation in those dues. Now, the director of EMS and operations is saying that they do want to use an increase in funds to hire someone to cover out-of-town calls.
Demand for emergency response comes before the financial part normally, so this is our way of trying to be proactive and stay ahead of that, and you know, we want to provide high quality emergency services to everyone when they call 911 and not just, you know, those that it's convenient for. We're on the low side.
Yeah. Well, that measure is on the ballot for a special election set for May 13th. And our area continues to experience explosive growth, and with that comes major challenges. At its spring meeting, the Northwest Arkansas Council gathered together regional leaders to tackle issues. The council is bringing in outside help like DPZ Co-Design to map a long-term regional growth strategy. Leaders say that the goal is to protect the region's green spaces, small-town charm, and sense of community, all while building smart infrastructure.
We need to be better on infrastructure. We need to be better on planning on where we want, whether it's industrial, commercial, or housing, of where that goes and how we accommodate that.
Healthcare is also top of mind. You can read more about that at 5newsonline.com.